This Wayne Goodsell. Oh my God. I've just been contacted through email by the author of the book, The North American Model for the Book of Mormon from Jerusalem to Cumorah. It is available online at Amazon and Barnes & Noble for $24.95. It's from the author himself, William Peter Midgley. And because he reached out through my my website, old website, it's no longer in use. I get his email address. I can even should be able to track where he be from. So bear with me here. Have to remember the old sign-in. They should, let's see. I think it's that one. Yeah. Oh, God. What a disgrace. Alright, contact forms. William Midgley. And there's his IP address. And he's a Comcast user from around Jacksonville, Florida. Huh. So are you one of the party people out there, William? Partying with the college students? Specifically in Duval, in the county of Duval. Alrighty. So he's either Mormon or a Russian plant. And I doubt it's a Russian plant. Because the Russians are more likely to prove the Book of Mormon true. Not... Well, I guess he's trying to prove the Book of Mormon true. So let me go over why I'm laughing at him. He's responding to other posts. He did the comment, so I don't know, or he didn't do a comment. He filed the contact form on the homepage. Not exactly sure which he's referring to, because he obviously missed the ones about Sidney Rigdon. I'll put Sidney Rigdon's portions of the plagiarism in there for you. And if you go to Wikipedia and you find down in the controversies about this, about a computer program that was used to test to see if Sidney was indeed the author, and they also found out that he was the author of the Federalist Papers. I think that's the book documents that I was trying to remember in the other video this morning. The reason why is because he didn't just plagiarize the Book of Mormon. He's been plagiarizing his sermons from all sorts of different books. He had a whole library collection, and it's well documented as such. But his brother had either wrote or answered a newspaper person about Sidney Rigdon having an accident as a young boy, and caused him brain damage, and even though it didn't affect him with speech and with communication, it's clear he wasn't able to write his own work anymore for sermons. And because of his love for preaching, he would plagiarize other books in his sermons. Thus, he apparently loved the Federalist Papers, assuming that's the right book. It's not complicated. So if you run a computer test and you use his documents, which are plagiarized, to find out what books he's plagiarized from, that's how you do it. And so what really is going on in the Book of Mormon is that he's not really the author. He's just putting in plagiarisms in his wording. And so it seems like he's the author, but what's really going on, and what William here does not understand, is that the Book of Mormon plagiarism confirms that Sidney Rigdon was the author, and that he did have possession of Solomon Spaulding's manuscript found that was unpublished in Pittsburgh. And so, yeah, that's where Sidney got it from, was when he was in Pittsburgh, because he hung out at the print press. How do you get books for your library? The print press. So when a new book gets published, he's right there to buy it. And he was able to obtain any documents that don't get published as well. And so a fiction novel, hey, wow, this is kind of cool. Unpublished because he died, and the kids didn't come to claim it. And so kids didn't even know about it, I guess, until they went into the steamer trunk, from what they were talking about in their testimony or interview or whatever. And they found another version of Manuscript Found, which is now called Manuscript Story. And Manuscript Story is available for anybody to obtain and read. And it's a Roman version, I believe. I haven't read it yet. I do have it in my collection, digital collection. And so it does include some similar stuff from his Manuscript Found. The thing about Manuscript Found is that the author of the book Mormonism Unveiled had gone to the city where Solomon Spaulding had been, and they told the guy that the Book of Mormon was taken from Solomon Spaulding's record. He used to come to the pub here and read the stories to us. And so, kind of difficult for the church to claim ignorance. But again, they are, because they weren't involved with the Book of Mormon. Brigham Young and his crew knew, well, yes, they did, because I found out about Heber C. Kimball. But they didn't know exactly how the Book of Mormon came out with Sidney Rigdon. They knew about William Morgan. And so that's why the church is just clueless when you see them time and time again rewriting church history. The newest rewrite is their Saints volumes that they're doing. And it's just an embarrassment. But that's what William here is proving. And I'm not going to respond to him. I could. I have his email now, but he's just trying to sell me a book. But like I said in my how to know the Book of Mormon is true video that I published, that's how I know. I've already produced the fruit. I've done the research in church history. So when I say the Book of Mormon's plagiarized, it's because I've found out. I'm the one who found let's see, Jewish mysticism was Joe Samson. I'm the one who found the Freemasonry, the mystic tie connection, and other Freemason connections with the Knights Templar. So that's me. So sorry, William. You're in the minority, but he's doing what apologists for the church do. They use fallacy in their arguments. So what William did was went in to the research already assuming the truth that the North American model is the actual characters in the Book of Mormon. And they are, but that's what Solomon Spaulding wrote them as for fiction. And so all of the geography that Solomon Spaulding did was taken right there in Western New York for the North American model. And I'm guessing, though, he's expanding it into all of North America. The person formerly called my friend, Vincent Kuhn, did his version that is a little more accurate. Let me pull him up on Amazon. Vincent Kuhn. He's also got W. Vincent Kuhn. Choice above all other lands. Book of Mormon covenant lands according to the best sources. Vincent actually went to Western New York and followed the trail, measuring it out himself to confirm the accuracy of what he thought was the real history of the Book of Mormon people, rather than the fiction tale of Solomon Spaulding. And so I trust Vincent's work more than I trust William's work, just because he's saying the North American model rather than the Western New York that Vincent did. But what Vincent proved was that, yes, Solomon Spaulding wrote the Book of Mormon because he had access to manuscript found of Solomon Spaulding's. And so the errors that are made by apologists for the particular fallacy here is that they're doing that investigative myopia that I talked about the other day when I saw the episode of Bull this past week. And myopia is nearsightedness. So when you're talking about it in terms of psychological conditions for investigating, it's where you have a doubting, disbelieving, self-fulfilling prophecy that's biased and limited in what you accept as facts and what you disregard as facts, and in the way you interpret the facts. And that's the worst thing a scientist could do, because you're not pursuing truth. You're not a true scientist. And that's what apologists are. They're not true scientists. And so he doesn't realize that he's pushing his own agenda to try to prove that the church is true, the Book of Mormon's true, and we must all bow down and pay our money to the church. And that's another part of the fallacy, is that, well, if the Book of Mormon's true, I guess we got to pay tithing to the church. We have no choice. That's the only way back to God, and we have to pay in order to go through the rituals. And then completely disregarding that it's protection money like a mafia crime organization does. Just so many fallacies in apologetics. It's sickening, really sickening. Because, so what? His North American model can match exactly as the Book of Mormon. But that doesn't mean that the Book of Mormon is an actual history of those people. That it was buried by someone of that race, of that culture, who had seen his whole entire civilization destroyed, as recorded in the Book of Mormon. And that's what apologists refuse to allow into. Goodness, an allergen. If you don't know, I have a pre-condition before coronavirus. I've been talking all about the landlord's attack on me with my air unit getting mold, and I'm allergic to mold. I went through a severe coughing fit, and during the winter time, I got a rash that is still present, but it's going away, but the scars are still there. And man, and she's truly a white supremacist, because the way she speaks, it's just straight from the white supremacist handbook. And now she's gotten caught up in the recent scandal that I have been talking about this past week, and up until last Thursday, when I did my all-nighter. Apologists need to use sound reasoning, because they're leading Mormons astray. Because Mormons who don't want to do this research, they just want to be told it's true, get deceived. And Mormons know very well, in the latter days, the elect will be deceived. Who are the elect, Mormons? Oh, we're the elect. Yeah, you're going to be deceived. By who? False prophets. Wolves in sheep's clothing. In the latter days, there shall be false Christs and false prophets. So, it's not complicated, but Mormons make it complicated through apologetics. And so it's just absurd, because the only way to prove that the Book of Mormon is an actual historical document is to have the plates, because then you can do dating of the plates, you can do dating of the language, if you can decipher the language and then use the decipherment, because there's all sorts of things that LDS critics have come up with over the decades to confirm once the plates magically return. And so, because, for example, there's all sorts of English animals from New England, London, Great Britain, whatever it's called, whatever time period you're referring to, and in America. And no, wrong animals, wrong time period. That's what's called an anachronism. Acronism is different. Anachronism is where you identify the dating of the text by conditions that were not available at the time period being written about. It's after that time period, so you know that it's of a much later date and not of the original author, as may be claimed. Pithom and Ramses, for example, in the Bible, those were not part of the time period that they're assigned to, and people instead think they can adjust the time chart to match their interpretation of the Bible time frame. You can't do that. That's again a scientific error that sends up red flags. So people who say that they have adjusted the time to match the Bible, they're full of it, and you can disregard their book. But I still think I got his book, though. Somewhere, yeah. No, those are not those books. It's somewhere. But if you understand that that's what they're doing, then you can weed through their jumbled mess to identify the hidden gems within, which are actual archaeological evidence. It's when an author gets so far gone that they're not even bothering to discuss evidence, like Hugh Nibley, and especially Klingon Skousen. He was the worst with his 1,000 Years series. Oh my God. As a teenager, I opened up the first 2,000 years and began reading and got through the first paragraph, I think, maybe even half the paragraph, and I just closed it. It was worthless to me. And that was just from my high school education to that point. I hadn't even gotten to the University of Lethbridge, where they taught me more specifically on what to watch out for and the difference between opinion and actual fact and evidence. But it's just fortunately he didn't do it as comment, because I would have to figure out a way to delete his comment. But bye-bye. There's GoFundMe again. I'm not going to do anything with it. People will get their money back. Alrighty. So is that clear now? Do we understand? You can't just say something is true and therefore it's true. And so that's the most frustrating part of Mormonism, is they think, read, ponder, pray, and I'll get a revelation of truth, and therefore nobody can confound me. Yes, we can. We can call you Looney Tunes, because that's what you are, if that's how you live your life. Seriously, do you live your life like that? Like you believe the Book of Mormon? The answer is no, because you wouldn't survive. You'd be doing dumb things all the time, and it would get you in trouble, or it would get you hurt. So, Mormons.